Mom, please, can you look after her? Late one night, Nina showed up out of the blue, dropping off her daughter Sophia at my place. Sophia, now 4, and whom I hadn't seen in a while, looked emaciated and expressionless. Even knowing she was being left behind, she didn't cry. As for Nina, her cheeks were sunken, her eyes hollow, and despite it being the dead of winter, she was only wearing a shirt. What's going on? Without answering, Nina hopped into a waiting taxi and left. Confused but realizing it was late, I decided to put Sophia to bed and climbed in beside her. Then she spoke.
It's warm. I wish Mommy would let me sleep in a bed too.
Sophia, who hadn't said a word no matter what I'd done for her until then, finally spoke. And her words were shockingly mature for a toddler expressing concern for her mother. What do you mean? Where can Nina possibly be sleeping? I'm Sandy, a 63-year-old housewife. Though I say housewife, my husband passed away from illness 3 years ago, and since my daughter Nina got married, it's just me and my college-going son Dom living together. Even without my husband, I have my sister living nearby and some assets left behind. So while I can't live in luxury, I do have enough to enjoy my hobby of gardening. Nina married her boss 6 years ago and became a housewife. For a while after their marriage, they lived in a condo near my home and visited often, making for happy times. Nina's husband Spencer was a promising elite employee.
Sandy, sorry to drop in unannounced.
Ah, Spencer, welcome. Make yourself at home.
Actually, I can only stay for a moment today.
Oh, is that so? He's always polite when he visits, almost to the point of making me nervous. But he's also very friendly and has no problem chatting with a housewife like me. Nina's relationship with him felt more like a boss and subordinate than a married couple, but he was henpecked. At the time, I thought that might actually be a good match for the quiet, introverted Nina. About a year into their marriage, Nina got pregnant. I was so excited about my first grandchild that I suggested she spend her prenatal period at my home. Nina agreed, saying it would make her feel more secure, and we enjoyed some peaceful time together. When Nina went into labor, I accompanied her to the hospital, as Spencer was busy with work. It was a difficult labor due to breech presentation, but she gave birth safely. I immediately informed Spencer. She's born, and she's a beautiful baby girl.
Oh, a girl, huh?
His first words sounded a bit disappointed, which struck me as odd. I wondered if he had really wanted a boy. Even Nina's mother-in-law, Frail, who came to visit, made a cold comment saying, "Next time you'll have to give us a baby boy." After Nina returned home from the hospital, I enjoyed helping with Sophia's nighttime crying and the joys of childcare once again. Sophia, fair-skinned with big eyes and chestnut-colored hair, looked just like Nina when she was a baby. A month passed and Spencer came to pick them up. I felt sad thinking it was time to say goodbye, but Nina lived nearby so I could always visit. But then Spencer said something that took me completely by surprise.
We're planning to move in with my parents. Nina's having a hard time with childcare.
What? Nina never mentioned this.
We discussed it with my mom and decided it's the best course.
I looked at Nina, who was visibly pale and trembling at Spencer's words. I whispered, "If you're not okay with this, you need to tell Spencer now. but she just shook her head. Was she too intimidated to voice her opinion to her henpecked husband? I had a bad feeling about this. In hindsight, I wish I had been more assertive, but at the time, I couldn't find a reason to object.
We've already moved our stuff. Come on, Nina, let's go.
Wait a minute. I quickly slipped $200 bills into a locket that was part of a necklace my late husband cherished and handed it discreetly to Nina. Keep this necklace close. It was important to my husband. I watched Nina, who looked downcast as she held Sophia, follow Spencer out the door. I couldn't shake my uneasy feeling. After that day, I lost contact with Nina. I kept telling myself she must be busy with childcare, but she never came for Thanksgiving or New Year celebrations. Whenever I called, Spencer would answer and say,
Nina can't come to the phone.
She even stopped showing up for my husband's death anniversary. Whenever I emailed Nina, she would reply with, I'm fine, but even those messages eventually stopped. 4 years passed without seeing her, and I couldn't help but worry. Then one night, Nina suddenly showed up. She looked haggard, her hair grown out, wearing a dirty, thin shirt and sandals despite the winter cold. What are you doing dressed like that? Come inside and warm up. I have to go back right away. Please take care of her. What? Confused, I took Sophia from Nina, who hugged her tightly before wiping away tears and rushing back to a waiting taxi. I tried to reach her on her mobile phone immediately, but couldn't get through. Sophia, now left with me, was a far cry from the chubby baby I remembered. She was skinny, expressionless, and terribly frightened, not responding to anything I said. The bag Nina left had only a few of Sophia's clothes, a medical insurance card, and a baby book. There was no clue as to why she had left her daughter with me. Sophia's clothes were clean, but visibly worn, suggesting they had been used repeatedly. As I was patting Sophia's head, feeling sorry for her, I noticed something shocking. There were several spots on the back of her head, about the size of a penny, where her hair had fallen out. What is this? I've heard of stress causing hair loss, but could it happen to a 4-year-old? And why would Nina, who loves children, suddenly leave Sophia with me? Sophia wouldn't touch her food, perhaps out of hesitation. Given the late hour, I decided to give her a bath and put her to bed. What? I gasped in shock. Sophia's body was covered in bruises. What kind of life had they been living? But I knew I couldn't show my distress in front of Sophia, so I forced a smile. After her bath, Sophia started yawning, perhaps feeling sleepy. Let's sleep together tonight. As we laid down in the same bed, Sophia, who had been silent all along, suddenly murmured,
It's warm. I wish Mommy could sleep in a bed too.
The words were shocking, especially coming from a toddler thinking about her mother. What kind of treatment could Nina be receiving? My heart raced. I wanted to ask Sophia more, but what could I ask a 4-year-old? Before I knew it, she was fast asleep. What was happening to Nina at Spencer's family home? Was she okay? Worry kept me awake, and before I knew it, morning had come. The next day, I wanted to take Sophia to the hospital for her bruises, but she had no coat and was shivering in the cold. So we went to a clothing store and bought her a coat and some other essentials. When Sophia put on her new down jacket, she looked up at me and said,
It's warm. I wish Mommy could wear this too.
Should we buy one for Mommy too? Sophia smiled and nodded vigorously. In a situation that grew more heart-wrenching the more I imagined it, It was a relief to see Sophia's kindness toward her mother, Nina. Later, the words from the doctor at the hospital confirmed my worst fears, and I couldn't stop my tears. My college student son, Dom, was also very worried about his older sister, Nina, whom he hadn't heard from in a while. Nina had always adored Dom, who was much younger, and he looked up to her. Dom had been practicing judo since he was young, and had even won tournaments. Nina had always been there to support him until she got married. Dom was also concerned about his niece Sophia, and tried to convince me after hearing about the hospital visit.
Mom, something terrible must be happening to Nina. Let's go help her. I'll come with you.
Looking into Dom's eyes, I realized he had grown not just physically, but emotionally strong. With his strong support, I decided to rescue Nina. I had planned to leave Sophia with my sister who lives nearby, but Sophia said,
I want to help Mommy too.
So the three of us set out. We quickly got into Dom's car and arrived at the in-laws' house in about an hour. It was an unremarkable suburban home where Nina, Spencer, Sophia, and Frail lived. We decided to sneak around the backyard to see what was going on inside. Then we heard voices berating Nina.
Where did you take Sophia? When did you take her out?
She's an unlovable child with no discipline. How dare you take her away?
I was stunned. Did they just realize Sophia was missing? They must not have been paying attention to her at all.
I'll take her to my parents' house for some strict discipline.
Humph, as if an old person could discipline her. For your insolence, you're skipping dinner tonight.
Move it, make dinner. You're just a maid, you don't get to rest.
Peering through the window, I saw Freya kicking Nina in the back. I was so shocked I couldn't close my mouth. I couldn't hold back and yelled, "How dare you treat my precious Nina like this?" Spencer and Freya looked shocked to see us, but ignoring them, I called out loudly to Nina, "Nina, we're here to take you home. Come with us." However, Nina looked at Spencer, trembling. Spencer glared at her as if he could shoot her.
Mom, go back. I'm staying here. I'm fine.
Hearing Nina's words, Spencer and Freya exchanged smug glances. Then they noticed Sophia was with us and called out to her.
Sophia, come here. Come to Daddy and Mommy.
Sophia stood up and pointed at them.
I don't need a daddy who bullies Mommy. I hate a mean grandma.
Tears filled her eyes as she shouted, perhaps driven by her desire to help Nina. Nina seemed to snap back to herself at Sophia's voice and tried to run to us. But Spencer grabbed her arm and wouldn't let go.
Don't run.
No, let go. That's when Dom moved.
Stop it. Let Nina go.
He leapt through the window with incredible speed and twisted Spencer's arm. Spencer was no match for Dom's strength. In an instant, he was on his knees screaming,
Ow, ow, stop!
Nina ran to me, hugged Sophia lovingly, took a deep breath, and said clearly, Spencer, I want a divorce.
If we separate, you'll lose Sophia. You can't even work. I won't give her to you. Are you okay with that?
I could see Nina tense up, holding her breath. They must have always used their child as leverage to keep Nina in this house. Kind-hearted Nina must have felt trapped because of it. I can't give Sophia to someone who treats her terribly.
What are you talking about? You don't know, but Sophia has issues like bedwetting and can't even greet people properly. She's not disciplined.
Freya joined in, berating Sophia.
That's right. We're just doing what her incapable mother can't.
Is discipline making bruises all over her body and scolding her until she becomes emotionless?
Don't make baseless accusations.
Both Spencer and Freya said,
"You have no proof, keep quiet."
almost in unison. If you want proof, here it is. I thrust the medical certificate from the hospital at them. I then revealed that I had recorded their terrible treatment of Nina. With evidence, the divorce will be finalized, and custody will go to Nina. We can even report this to the police. The moment they realized they might be reported, their faces turned pale.
Police would be a problem. It could affect my career.
Spencer said. Freya added,
"Then just divorce and find a new wife."
They were heartless to the end. We went to Nina's room to collect her and Sophia's belongings. This is... It was hardly a room anymore. A small box in the attic held a few clothes and personal items. No bed, just a worn-out blanket and a few torn towels. I was so angry, I was beyond sad.
This is enough for a useless maid.
And for a wife who can't discipline her child, and for Sophia, who's also undisciplined. This is a luxury.
I didn't think it would be this bad. Reporting was the right thing to do.
What?
I had actually contacted the police right after witnessing their abuse. Just then, we heard sirens.
No, police! Please, tell them it was a misunderstanding. I beg you.
Spencer pleaded, clinging to my feet, but it was too late. They were taken away by the police, crying for help. In the car, Nina tearfully told us she had tried to divorce multiple times. Sophia would get severely scolded every time she cried or raised her voice, becoming more and more emotionless. Nina knew something had to change. However, with no money even for transportation, and her phone and messages constantly monitored, she was on the verge of giving up. That's when she noticed the money I had hidden and the locket of the necklace I gave her. Seizing the moment when Spencer and his family weren't looking, she took a taxi in the middle of the night and brought Sophia to me. She thought that if she returned to her in-laws, she could prevent them from coming after me.
"Mom, thank you so much. I don't know what would have happened if things continue like that."
Give your thanks to Sophia. She's a thoughtful, kind-hearted girl.
"Sophia, thank you for helping Mommy."
Nina smiled at Sophia.
Mommy is smiling. I love Mommy."
I hugged Nina and Sophia, reassuring them everything will be all right now. Afterwards, Nina got divorced and gained custody of Sophia. Spencer and Freya were sentenced to prison due to the evidence against them. Though they were released fairly quickly, the public scrutiny forced Spencer to quit his job and Freya to sell their home and leave. They paid Nina a lump sum of $30,000 in alimony and $100,000 in child support, severing all ties with the in-laws. Rumor has it they now live in an old apartment and make ends meet with day labor. As for me, life has been lively, living with Nina, Dom, and Sophia. Sophia, once emotionless, has regained her natural feelings and smiles freely. Nina started working, Dom is in college, and each of us is living a fulfilling life. I find happiness in watching over my family like this.